children have been burnt. Not West Indians, black British. That is what I once said. They're burning our children.
This is all that remains of the three-storey house where nearly 100 young West Indians were celebrating at an all-night birthday party for two young friends.
That night, we were there at the party, and for people outside looking in, I mean, maybe they can just imagine.
Just before 6 o'clock this morning, the singing and dancing gave way to panic as flames shot through the upper floors and screaming teenagers began to leap from the windows.
The feeling was that it had been another racist attack. Racist attacks were happening on a daily basis in that area.
There had been a great amount of far-right activity in Deptford.
Stop colored immigration. The National Front is white men's front. Join the National Front.
They attacked the youth clubs, they attacked the Albany Centre.
3 years ago, the old Albany Theatre was gutted by fire.
Places of entertainment for black people. There was another firebomb at the Moonshot Youth Club, both literally a stone's throw from 439 New Cross Road.
Paul's family home was 439 New Cross Road. Paul was fun, free, outgoing. That's a picture with his sister Yvonne. Yvonne had actually said to me and Paul, I'm going to ask Mum if I can have a birthday party. What do you think Mum will say? Paul said, we'll see what we can do. We got there just after about 8:30. Everybody was running around and people were being served drinks, food was being cooked.
The party was great. You had generations coming in at different times. So you had the younger ones who were there from the beginning, and then you had the older ones who were coming in at like 12 o'clock. So loads of people were there.
The older adults were having their sort of own little party in the kitchen.
At 5:30 in the morning, I could still see people dancing. I started to smell something, like burning.
The ground floor front room was totally ablaze. People ran out into the street, and Paul was next to me. He said to me, "Where's Yvonne? Have you seen Yvonne?" I said, "No." "I think she's still in there, Paul." With that, he said, "Stay out," and he just ran straight into the house.
Everything's gone out, there's no electric, I can't see anybody, I don't know what's going on. And all hell broke loose.
There were some guys trapped in it. I think they must have run up to the top floor and they were having trouble getting the windows open. And I can remember these guys kicking the windows out and literally taking a run and jump.
It was just horrific. A girl and a boy, they just sort of fell right down into a basement.
I just remember kids lying on stretchers, burnt till they were pink, and the smell of burning flesh, well, it'll go to my grave.
There was just smoke everywhere. And then afterwards, people were telling me that some white man had thrown a petrol bomb through the window.
I saw this bloke standing up in the pavement. Then he made this throwing movement with his right hand.
The fire had started within the ground floor front room. The smoke would have been very hot, would have reduced their visibility to near zero within seconds, and they would have inhaled the fire fumes and succumbed very quickly.
Witnesses had seen a car and a man go to the door and they'd seen his arm raised. The investigative team were aware that a firebomb was possible, but there was nothing found inside the house, so there was no forensic evidence that a missile had come through the house. It wasn't there.
One of the things that we were trying to ascertain was whether a projectile had entered the room. Typically, you find the neck and the base of the bottle and the remains of the wick stuck in the neck. That's very common. We didn't find any of that evidence.
Secondly, it was discovered the man who went to the house and drove off quickly, he had seen the fire. He stopped his car, he ran to the house, banged on the door or whatever. I think the heat was so fierce that he went like that.
He raised his right arm above his head in a protective movement, and possibly Carl Wright has got this particular action mixed up with what he described as a throwing movement.
The police, they didn't like the theory of it being a racist attack. So suddenly the finger was pointed at the partygoers, and the media was pandering to police prejudice, vilifying the young people as if they somehow were involved in this horrific fire.
There were contradictions in what people were saying. And because of the clash within people's statements that weren't being cohesive, there were reconstruction interviews of a certain number of people that were contradicting each other.
The police make choices. People were being led by particular forms of questioning, particular lines of questioning, to commit themselves to saying all kinds of things that they didn't even know about.
The police came shortly after I'd come out of hospital. I'm only 11, and it was scary. It was not how I expected it to be. It just seemed like they already had their version of what they're saying happened. They were saying, well, other people said they saw you here. Other people said that you were here. So if other people are saying it, then it must be true.
I think in the climate of the times, attitudes were too polarised, and there were individual police officers whose attitude left a lot to be desired as far as I was concerned.
One day, police arrived, knocked on the door and said, "We'd like you to come down for an interview." As I sat in the car, one of them turned round, the one in the front passenger seat turned round and looked at me, and he said, "How's a boy like you get mixed up with these bunch of..." using the N-word.
What clues have you as to the motive for this fire?
I don't feel that there is any racialism, and neither do I feel that there is any aspects of any outside political extremist.
There was just a lot of hate at that time, it seems. Very tense. Very tense. But I'll tell you this, that every one of us tried our hardest to get to the bottom of it and to find out how that fire was started and who did it.
After 13 days in court and more than 80 hours of evidence from nearly 60 witnesses, it took the jury just 2 hours to come to an open verdict. Mrs. Armser Ruddock, who gave the party and lost 2 children in the fire, was in no mood to accept it.
An open verdict was what I expected, but it is not what it should be. It should be murder.
The verdict signaled to the black community that the police, the media, courts, basically all felt that those lives didn't matter.
I was unfortunate to lose my brother Andrew at a very young age and lose a lot of friends. There's some friends that I had at that party that I'd started secondary school with. Tony, I mean, he escaped from there. But after about 1.5 years, he, it was really sad. That fire had a massive, massive impact on Tony. Tony was all right before. Whatever justice we get, it still doesn't bring back. I just want Andrew and my friends back.